just like being in radio. Hey, George, look at that. Everything works. The lights go off and on. There's a big red one that says on the air. Oh, gee. So exciting. It's so exciting. Bring it up there, Big Marty. Oh, listen, I want to tell you, there's nothing like, it's on the tip of my tongue. There's nothing like, I forgot again. Martha, rambling rose of the wild wood. Once again, we bring you the Silver Masked Tenor. And after this program, stay tuned for the Mystery Shep. Little echo chamber, please. Rambling rose of the wildwood, That's my Pagliacci side. Oh, that can be really a sick side, I'll tell you. Pagliacci, who's he? He's got this place down on Bleecker. Takeout pizza, Chinese egg rolls. Not bad. Of course, it's springtime, so Shepard is flipping his bird again. I want to say this: if you notice that I have a cold, it's an annual event with me. Some people celebrate spring by hopping around the maypole. Other people celebrate spring by drinking themselves silly on Bach beer, and that'll make you awful silly if you drink too much of it. I'll tell you that. Sometimes affect you for life. Shepard celebrates the spring by getting his semi-annual cold. That is, I get the cold in the spring and in the fall. And I know, yes, I do. I believe in system. I think people are so formless in their lives, and I do these things systematically. In fact, I have a friend, a doctor friend, who also believes in system. And he recognizes the fact that, kids get chicken pox. So his kid got chicken pox. So he immediately made sure that all the rest of his kids got chicken pox. So he might as well, you get it cheaper that way, too. Yeah, he injected him with it, see? And that way you get it, you can handle it cheaper. You can buy, bandages and all that stuff you need for Yeah, you get the frequency discount is what it's called. Now, in my world, of course, due to the fact that I'm unbelievably efficient, that's how I get so much great, fantastic, catastrophic work done. All in one time. I can do it all. Yes, I'm very efficient. I just work like a machine, turning out funnies and yaks and, just grinding it out there. Well, part of that efficiency, of course, is maintaining an efficiency around you. For example, my desk that I have in my office is a brilliant example of efficiency. You agree, Jerry? Magnificently. Actually, the disarray which seems to strike people's eyes is controlled chaos. It's, I know exactly where everything is. Of course, a lot of stuff I'm afraid to touch there, I'll tell you. There's a bank of stuff on the left side of my desk as you face it. You see, you don't really sit next to my desk. You cower next to it. Because any minute now, it's going to pour down all over you, see. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. One day, I just barely escaped one day. Eileen Francis was in the next office one day, and wind came down the tunnel there. We got this tunnel in our talent office there. The wind came down the tunnel and caught a key piece of impedimenta on my desk. And the next thing I know, I was trapped in this fantastic landslide. And it was only because Arlene Francis was on hand that she could call the police, and they dug me out. And I'm here today to talk about it. However, if that wind hadn't come, it wouldn't have loused up my system. I've got a great system. Everything is systematized. So today, a part of my system, it's, springtime, you clean out the crud, All right. Every year at this time of the year, I get this great urge to clean out the impedimenta in my desk and go through it all. See, so I clean out, among other things, I got this big, sad, saggy-looking, saggy record cabinet that's next to me. I'm always afraid of that thing. One day, one of those boards is going to break in that, Jerry. And I'm telling you, we're going to kill people for 4 or 5 floors below us when that thing goes. I'm really worried about that. I hit creaks sometimes late at night when I'm there, and I can hear cockroaches walking around. And there's a whole collection of terrible old records that I've got, thousands of records, which I rarely ever... In fact, I not only not use them, I pointedly ignore them, figuring one day the sun is going to get in there and finally melt them all down and I can make it into an ashtray or something. But so I'm looking through all the stuff today. I figure I'm going to clean it up. And I came across, among other things, this is an example of the kind of record that I have, that the stuff that piles up that I'm about to throw out. This is about to go out. Would you please play this, if you will? This is the kind of stuff that I'm surrounded with. You can see.
For sale or rent. Room select 50 cents.
You mean you don't like it?
No bone, no pool, no pet. I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of pushing room by the 8 for 12 4-bedroom. I'm man, I mean, by no means king of the road.
This, friends, is the worst country singer ever recorded, which gives it a certain amount of panache, considering the number of bad country singers that have been recorded. Bring it up.
I don't pay no union dues or smoke.
I'd rather be total last or total first in whatever I do than to be somewhere standing around in the middle.
King of the road, I know every engineer on every train.
Oh, listen to the beat this guy's got. Fantastic.
And all of their names, and every handout in every town, and every lot that ain't locked, so no one's around. I sing trailers for trailers.
He's the Mrs. Miller of the country western world.
Room to let 50 cents.
And by the way, whatever happened to Mrs. Miller?
I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of pushing. 8 for 12 for bedroom. I'm a man by no means king of the road. Trailers sail.
He has his own inept group that plays with him.
To let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pet. I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of
All right, thank you. It's very nice. It's, now you see why you want to hear another side? You want to hear another one of his great records? Now, I don't know why I've got this. I have no reason to excuse myself. I have no... Okay, that's good. You put that on there. I'm just going to show you what kind of problems I've got to face when I'm cleaning up my office. Now, this guy also does other things on this record. Now, it's quite obvious that this is what they call a vanity record. I mean, you know what is it, a vanity record? It's a vanity record is the same thing like vanity novels. You know, you've all heard of the vanity press. The vanity press is if you've got this ego that believes that you're a great writer, but nobody can really understand how great you are, and they keep sending it back from the publisher houses because you know how commercial those rats are, absolute rats. Well, there are publishers that will publish your book for you. Of course, you pay for it. They'll pay for it. You know, you pay them, and they'll send you 700 copies of your turkey. You know, a life against the storm, a saga of one man. I can just see your clinker, you know. Well, now there are vanity record companies. Now, I suspect this might be one of them. Now, I don't know how I got this record. I'd like to find out. Now, would you play another cut in there for me? He introduces his things, too, on it. Yeah, well, no, you don't have to have him introducing it, because it needs no introduction. Now, remember, he's serious. This is not a funny, right? He doesn't think it's funny.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 get ready now, go, cat, go, but don't you.
You see, he's proving now he can also do rock.
Lay off on my blue suede shoes. You can knock me down, step in my face, slander my name all over the place, do anything you want to do, but honey, lay off on my shoes, and don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Do anything but lay off on my blue suede shoes. You can burn my house, steal my car, drink my soda from my old jar, do anything you want to do, but honey, lay off on my shoes, and don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Do anything but lay off on my blue suede shoes. Do anything but lay off on my blue suede shoes.
All right, take him off. That's enough. He's just got the hook. The old hook just come out there. Hey, listen, I got a note here the other day from somebody who said something about the effect of fact that the guy was doing one of these mail interviews. Maybe you don't know that many people are interviewed by mail. They're not interviewed in person. And it was a letter from a guy who... No, not it's M-A-I-L. I don't know what's the matter with you guys tonight. But it's a mail interview. And, in fact, it was a newspaper out in some place like West Virginia. And that's why they do it. They'll write you a lot of questions and stuff. And the question that was asked, the guy says, what is your favorite form of literature? Well, now, how the hell do you answer a question like that? What do you in 10 words or less, so it'll fit on the little blank they give you there, like, what do you write, good? Your favorite? Or do you write down bad? Or do you write down I don't read, spelled R-E-D-E, which would probably fit most people in the entertainment world. However, I was thinking about that. I read that question, and I thought to myself, well, what is my favorite form of literature? I'm not a real fanatical novel reader, because I find most novels are far too self-indulgent. And the minute I find a sensitive hero in a novel, I break out in a rash, because that's the guy that the author thinks he is, the sensitive, beautiful poet arrayed against an insensitive, evil society. I throw that out immediately. Down the chute it goes. But I don't dig this, and I've never been able to get interested in detective stories. The usual detective Raymond Chandler type thing, Agatha Christie. I've never dug that, and I've tried. Oh God, I've tried. I once read 2 pages of a James Bond book. Ian Fleming. That was about as far as I could stick that. Then I don't know. What is my favorite form of literature? Well, I was thinking about this. Can you really seriously say? Yes, I suppose you can if you like to make yourself out a public fool, if you want to admit what's your favorite form of literature. How can I admit that my favorite form of literature is the New York Post sports section? How can you admit that? In fact, I've got... how many of you have little private games that you play with yourself that you never think much about, except that little things that you do, like, for example, we've got one guy here at the station, Bruce, who his little private game is every day he tries to do the New York Times crossword puzzle. Every day. Now, I've known Bruce for a long time. He has never once finished the New York Times crossword puzzle. And it's a private game he plays. One day he knows he's going to break through. He's going to bust through into that. It's like getting a hole in one. The average golfer never really thinks he's actually going to get a hole in one, but he always secretly thinks he will get a hole in one. It's a kind of an ambivalent thing. See, so I know that Bruce seriously feels that one day he's going to break through into that great vast sunshine out there, where the real crossword Times puzzle workers are. The ones that really do them. And so this is his little game. Well, what is my little game? Well, every day that the Post comes out, I constantly play this game. See, I open it up. I start from the back of the paper first. Most people start from the front first. I start from the back. I usually start out in the back there, and and I read about, what the Mets are doing and something like that. And then I play my game. My game is this. I always challenge myself, and I bet myself. See, I have little bets on my game. One side of Shepherd says, this is the day. And the other side says, oh, yeah, I'll put 3-1 on it. And then the first Shepherd says, I'll take that. And the second Shepherd says, you're going to pay up this time, Mac. And so I bet with myself. What is my game? I always challenge myself that one day, Milton Gross of the New York Post is going to write one column where he does not at any point mention, hint about, or discuss money. And do you know that I owe myself over $12,500 already in $2 bets? I keep losing. He's never yet done it. Run that little game yourself once. See if you can find one, just a little game. This is Milton. You ever read Milton Gross in the Post? He never once writes a column. If he does, I haven't seen it, where he does not mention money. Now, he should be on the financial page. My suggestion is that they ought to move him to the financial page and, come right out and do it. So all players play for money, as far as he's concerned. There's no such thing as the game. And the only difference between a good player and a bad player is a good player makes more money. That's that's the difference. Speaking about, this is WOR, New York, friends, right here in the heart of Fun City. And speaking of money, hit the money button, please.
This message sponsored by the United States Army.
He's the man who's first to answer. He's the man who's met the test. He's today's Army soldier, proud to serve among the best.
If you'd like to serve among the best, today's Army wants to join you. For the location of your nearest Army representative, call 800-243-6000 toll-free.
Hooray! Sometime I'm going to call that number. I can just see this great big magnet coming out of the phone and grabbing me and pulling me right through. And the next thing you know, Shepard's falling out for another formation again. Hey, wouldn't it be great here if we had full field inspections here at WOR? Wouldn't it be kind of great? Can't you just see your old man, Nick, putting up a thing on the bulletin board that says 0800 tomorrow morning, full field inspection. You will wear Class A's, huh? Thank you very much. I shouldn't give them ideas. That's the trouble with me. I keep popping up with an idea, and the next thing you know, it comes true. And all I need is another full field inspection. Of course, we can have it. Can't you see Mr. O'Neill and Smitty and George all walking around? They got clipboards, see, and they got everybody lined up. And they walk past Al McCann, and I can just see George pull in that gut. Come on. And oh well, life in the putty knife factory. Well, let's see. We've got a couple of other ding dogs here. Oh yeah, speaking. Please give me a little echo chamber. Boom! That is the sound of an atomic explosion, which will occur tomorrow. Clifton Senior High School, Clifton, New Jersey. Gene Shepard will stride out on the stage as big as life and much tougher than King Kong. Boom! Gene Shepard at Clifton Senior High School tomorrow, Saturday at 8 p.m. And you better get on the stick right now if you want to get over there. It's 333 Colfax Avenue in Clifton, New Jersey. Sponsored by the Clifton Youth Council of Creative Images. Hi, George. And don't forget now, this is going to be my last, and I mean it, my last live public performance. Now, when you say live, everybody calls up, what's the matter? Are you leaving the radio? No, when I say live, I'm talking about on stage, honey. This will be Gene Shepard, who is me, last live public performance on stage in the metropolitan area for this school year. Of course, I'm going to play a couple of the relief roles. I'm going to do a couple of the replacement roles in Old Calcutta, but we won't count that. Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm getting a set of these spangled jockey shorts all ready for it. It's going to be good. But nevertheless, that's Clifton High, Saturday, tomorrow at 8 p.m., Clifton, New Jersey. Going to be good. We hope to get busted right in the middle of that show. It's going to work out. Speaking of your favorite literature, may I get back to that somewhat sordid theme? Now, I cannot tell you. I find pornography, for example, inordinately boring. I find it even more boring than detective stories. I do. I just never have, it's not my thing. But you know what I like? No. I'll tell you what I'd like. I enjoy, and I think I must be alone among them. Not alone. I'm one of the few, because they really don't sell well. I like collections of cartoons, cartoonist work. Now, I'm not talking about comic strip stuff. This doesn't turn me on either. I'm not a Snoopy fan. And I wish I were. I wish I had that kind of Winnie the Pooh mind that buys this stuff. But I haven't. No. I've got, unfortunately, I have a mind that is a cross between Ebenezer Stooge and, Ebenezer Stooge, a little touch of Dorian Gray, and probably just a little dobbit of Attila the Lionhearted. But he wasn't Lionhearted, but he was the Hun, wasn't he? That's right. A little Stonewall Jackson thrown in there. And I've always thought a little like U.S. Grant. Well, how did U.S. Grant think? Interesting man. No, everybody thinks only in terms of drinking. Why did he drink? That's what makes a man interesting. Not the fact that he drunk, but why he drank. That is fascinating. Well, you're going to say to me, because he liked the taste of bourbon. I'm going to say that you're pretty damn near right. Not a bad taste. Well, as a matter of fact, no. Once you've tasted something really elegant, really elegant, it's hard to go back to wild strawberry yoo-hoo. Really is. But here, now I'm going to show you why I dig this kind of thing. Cartoons, the books of cartoons. I must have about, I would guess now, probably 100 to 150 different volumes of collected works of American cartoonists. Now, when I talk about a cartoonist, I'm talking about a guy that does the single panel. Most people think in terms of Charles Addams or somebody like that. That's a single panel cartoonist. And I would suspect that these men are among the most unknown of the famous men. In other words, we're so familiar with their work. Everybody knows we'll see a cartoon and we'll laugh at a cartoon. And how many people really know the guy's name? They never look down at the bottom. There's a few that have become famous because of other things. Guys like Charles Addams or Peter Arno or somebody like that. But one of my absolute all-time favorite cartoonists who used to live in the village, and I used to see him a lot. Many times when I'd go home from, I lived down in the village, and I would go down to the village after my show, and I would see him skulking along 10th Street. And I mean, he really did skulk. And he was an old friend of mine, I'd say, and of course, I was a great fan of his work long before I met him. For example, if you have the right kind of an eye and you know what you're looking for, you will find that many cartoonists actually draw themselves continually in their own cartoons. They don't know it. It's often very unconsciously, but they'll draw themselves as a character in their own cartoon. For example, there is a character in the Charles Addams menagerie, his group of characters, that looks quite a bit like Charles Addams himself in person. Now, which one? Well, I'll just let you guess, that's all. But I'm just saying that I happen to have met Addams on a couple of occasions, and he looks like one of his characters. I never told him that, but that's true. Some of them draw themselves more and many of them idealize themselves. In other words, they'll show themselves, for example, Al Cap. You'll find a character looks like Al Cap, quite a few of his characters. One of them particularly looked like him the way he probably was when he was younger, No, I'm serious. So here, this particular character draws himself, but in a nutty, curious way. Now there's a place down in the village I go to, a little deli. There's a lot of little delis down in the village, little places that are open all night long. You can come in and, buy a six-pack of Coke or something like that. A little delicatessen, New York type all-night deli. And many times I will go into this deli In fact, he used to come down to the Limelight when I was down at the Limelight. William Steig. Steig lives down in the village. And if you know who Steig is, great cartoonist. And if you know Steig's work well, you'll see it in his face. His face looks like one of his most famous cartoons. It's almost a direct picture, self-portrait of him. You know the famous cartoon? He's the guy that did the famous cartoon of the guy sitting in the box. There's a desert, tremendous desert scene. At least there's nothing but completely uninhabited country all around, just desert. It looks like it's a desert. And in the foreground is a box, a big packing crate that's set up on end, and one of the sides is out of it. And you see this guy sitting in the packing crate, and his face is drawn. He's got this haggard look, and he's just sitting in this packing crate. And underneath it says, "People are no damn good." And that's one of his most famous cartoons. You've seen that cartoon. Well, that's Steig. And obviously most people don't even know that it was Steig. It is Steig. But the cartoonist that I'm talking about, I just got a copy of his newest tome in the mail. And it's Gahan Wilson. If you don't know Gahan Wilson stuff, man, you don't. Well, you know it. I'm sure that most people know his stuff. To me, he is a true macabre cartoonist. I never found Adams particularly macabre. They always talk about him as a scary cartoonist, but I never thought Adams was. But the one that really has a curious evil quality is Gahan Wilson. For example, here's a full-page cartoon, one of his cartoons. It's a butcher shop. And, you see hams hanging from the walls and all that stuff, and you see this little short, fat lady. It's the way he draws them, too, that's so great. Little short, fat lady. And she doesn't look scared or perturbed or anything. She's just looking like she's shopping. It's a little short, fat lady shopping. She's got her handbag there. And she's just looking with interest into the case. It's a big butcher case. You know how they put there's trays in there. It's a 65 cents a pound, 90 cents a pound, cold cuts, $1.08 a pound and all that. And you see, hanging over this case, you see a butcher. And he's looking, just blank face. He's just telling her something. And he says, "It's been awful for business, Mrs. Schultz, but it was Charlie's last wish." And what is he talking about? Well, you see stretched out in this case, you see Charlie with his straw hat on. And Charlie has left us, and he's lying in there, and there's a little sign next to him says, "Not for sale." Well, now that's Gahan Wilson. There it is, see? The butcher is stretched out there with the cold cuts. Again, you have to have a certain type of humor. Here's another one. Here's another evil one. You see the interior of a bathroom, and it's just a bathroom, and in the foreground is a bathtub up against the wall there, and the room is in terrible disarray. You see bloody handprints all over the wall, like there's been a terrible struggle. You see where he's clutched at the wall, see? And you see his bathrobe is lying on the floor. The bathrobe is laying on the floor next to the bathtub, and something has gotten it. You see the whole bottom of it's been ripped away, just torn away. You see shreds, and there's water all over the floor, and you see the door to the bathroom is open, and you see a wife looking in. It's a woman. At least you assume it's a woman. It's a middle-aged lady with glasses. And she's got a look of satisfaction on her face, a vague smile. She's peering in. And that's the picture. The bathtub is filled with water. You got it? There's only one bad note in it. You see, swirling over the surface of the water or through it, you see cutting the surface cleanly, the fin of a shark. Obviously, she has planted a giant shark in his... Oh, man, I'll tell you. But what looks so great is you can see where he's trying to get out. You see his hand clawing at the... Now, I call that creative murder, to put a shark in your husband's bathtub. Now, that's Gahan Wilson. Now, here's another one of Gahan Wilson's curiously enigmatic cartoons. You see a guy walking a dog, and his people always have this completely non-editorial look on their face. They're not laughing or angry, or they're just looking, see? And you see a guy walking a dog, and it's an evil-looking day. It's a gray day, and you see the wind. He's got his coat is blowing out, and the dog is sort of standing there with his ears blowing up. And they're outside of a cemetery. And you see all these crosses, and you see all the headstones all there lined up. And up at the top of the hill, you see a mausoleum, one of these little concrete-like buildings there, and it has a big name over it and a cross over the top. It says Smith of it. There's only one thing wrong. It's got a big TV antenna on it. The guy's just looking up there. Oh, and talk about an evil one. Wait a minute. I'm going to give you one here that's really evil. Terrible, terrible evil. Wait a minute here. Here's one. It shows. I shouldn't. No, I better not. That's too subversive. Too much. It shows a guy. Shows a Scotchman. He's wearing kilts, and he's got these kilts on. See, and he's got a Scotch tam on his head. And you see around him are all these mountains, great rugged-looking mountains, and he's got a crooked stick. You know how Scotsman, Harry Lauder type Scotsman, stage Scotsman always look, and he's obviously a Scotchman. And you see he's standing by the shore of this pile, this water. It's a lake of some kind, and all around him are rocks and stones. And you see coming out of the water the most fantastic, evil, horrible, incredible-looking monster. And it's long. It's like a giant snake with a big bulbous eye sticking out. It's got a little furry head. There's fur on the top of it. It's got claws sticking out. It's a tremendous thing. It's about 40 feet high. And this little Scotsman is saying, "So where were you during the tourist season?" I'm sorry. Or don't you get it? Here's another one. It shows a guy sitting in his office. And see, you notice he deals with the evil and all kinds of curious elements of death. It shows a guy sitting in his office, frantically making a phone call, and you can just see his face is looking tense. And outside of his window, you see he's looking out of the window of his office, which is apparently on about the 30th floor of some big building, and you can see across the street. You see a building over there. And it's got a big sign on it that says Peabody and Fenner Corporation. And there's only one thing wrong. You see about 10 guys jumping out of windows. They're leaping out of windows. They're going. See, you can see them plunging head first out of the windows. They're jumping out. It's not a fire. They're jumping out of the windows. Obviously, some fantastic thing has happened to their company. And he is saying over the phone, "Quick, dump all my shares of Peabody and Fenner, quick." Oh, he's evil. Here's another one. No, I shouldn't. Here's another one. It shows a marriage counselor sitting there, and he's looking very very serious. Like, how marriage counselors are always seen in TV. They always look very avuncular, very serious men. And he's looking very serious, and he's got a notepad in front of him. He's been making notes. It says J. Harper, marriage counselor, on his door. And he looks a little like Dr. Spock, and he's looking very serious. And he's talking to this lady. In fact, he's talking to this couple. And the girl is sitting there looking a little unhappy. And the marriage counselor is saying, "But surely it must have occurred to you that the wide differences in your backgrounds would make your marriage more than ordinarily difficult." And you see, sitting on the other side of the desk, her husband. And it turns out to be a giant rat. It's Mickey Mouse, as a matter of fact. And that's all. You see, this kind of thing. Now, this is one of his worst. I mean, I shouldn't even tell you this with kids listening. This is a terrible one. You see this nice little school teacher-type lady. She's a spinsterish-looking lady, and she's got sensible shoes, and she's just got a very sensible look on her face. And it's in her living room, and she's talking to two workmen who are standing there. They're wearing overalls, and they're looking kind of dirty. They've been obviously doing a job, and they're all standing around her fireplace. which is a very elegant fireplace. And she's looking quite pleased. They've cured the problem, and these two workmen are standing there looking satisfied. They've done the job. And it says, you can see she's talking to one of the workmen says, well, we found out what's been clogging your chimney since last December, Miss Emmy. And you see what it is. There you see, sprawled out in front of the fireplace, this skeleton. It's a skeleton. You ready for it? It's a skeleton, and it's dressed in a Santa Claus suit. I'm sorry. It's Santa Claus. Well, here's another one. I'll tell you another one of his terrible macabre. It shows a hospital scene, and there's obviously a bed, but the bed is shielded by a screen. You know, they put these screens around hospital beds, and there's about 15 different machines, all kinds of respirators and pipes and tubes, and you can see there's a big machine that looks like it's some kind of a artificial kidney machine, all kinds of machines running in, and you don't see who's in there. You don't see who's in there. You just see all these wires and pipes and everything going into this enclosed bed. There's about 10 different machines with great big meters all over them. And you see this very kindly looking nurse, and she's got a clipboard, and she's talking to whoever's in there. And you see this hand coming out. There's one little hand reaching out from behind the curtain. It's obviously the guy in the bed. And he's reaching for a switch on one of the machines. And she says, no fair now. No fair turning yourself off, Mr. Smithers. Thank you. Here's another one. If you want to see another strange one, this is Gahan Wilson's sense of humor. It shows I don't know. I hope you're enjoying this. I mean, because I enjoy Gahan. Here's another one. It shows a toy department, and it's in a department store, and you see a whole big box of toys. It's a display of a certain type of toy, and I've got a lot of the boxes are open. See, and there's a big sign next to it, and it says "New Toy Sensation: The Crying, Clutching, Sniveling Doll." You know how dolls these days, dolls do everything. They catch measles. You can get real-life dolls that you have to change the diapers on. Well, this is a different kind of doll. It's the crying, clutching, sniveling doll. And it shows a guy trying to walk away from the counter, and this doll is clinging to him, crying, clinging to his knee. It's crying, big tears coming down. It's hanging on, it's dragging his feet. And you see these two clerks behind the counter. One says to the other, there's damn few who can walk away. The doll cries. And here's another one. It shows a minister standing. He's just finished, obviously just finished his sermon, because he's taking off his surplus and all that. You know, he's got this robe he's taking off, and he's looking very pleased. And his wife is helping him take his stuff off. And he's standing in front of a mirror. Obviously, this is in the place where he lives, see, and he's taking his stuff off. And he's looking very pleased. He looks like a bishop or something. Very elegant-looking guy. And you see, above his head, you see this halo. It's an actual halo shining. And he's looking very pleased into the mirror. He says, I thought I was in particularly good form today. I'm sorry. That's the kind of evil... there's another one, too. He's got you see this little short fat guy, and his wife has opened his closet, and she's looking shocked, and obviously he's trying to stop her from opening the closet, but she's opened it. And you see hanging in the closet among a lot of other clothes, you see this Superman suit. It's got a big S on it, you know, and you see these jazzy-looking boots. And she turns to him, he's a little fat middle-aged guy, and she says, Harry, you? I'm sorry. But this to me is Gahan Wilson. Hey, we got a couple of spots. We better get them out of the way here. Yeah, one spot anyway. Palisades. if you're, a seeker of fun, friends, we'd like to suggest Palisades Amusement Park is wide open. By the way, Gahan Wilson does a lot of cartoons about amusement parks, which I remember one of his cartoons. By the way, may I recount one of Gahan Wilson's cartoons that refers to amusement parks? It shows these two people sitting in this little boat. You know how they go through the tunnel of horrors and all that stuff. And these two people are looking very bland. And you see coming out of the darkness one of the most unbelievably horrible monsters you've ever seen in your life. In fact, it's eating somebody. You see the feet sticking out, and you see hands, and he's just eaten the boat that has gone through ahead of him. You could see pieces of the boat all around. Whatever the monster is, it's unbelievable. It's coming out of the darkness, and you can see pieces of the boat in his mouth, and it's just awful. It's about 8 stories high. And this one says to the other, "That's not so scary." So if you'd like to enjoy all these things, I'd suggest you get over to Palisades Amusement Park. They're wide open. Make it this weekend. And, it'll go all... Oh, you want to see another one, don't you? Shows an executive. So sometimes he doesn't deal in horror. So he shows an executive. He's got these boxes in front of him, in and out, and he's going through all the mail, see, in and out. And he's sorting the mail. He's putting one into the out box, and then he's putting one into another one, and you can see it's a wastebasket, and it's got a sign on it that says nowhere. That's all. Then you see another, talk about an evil one. It's a shot back of Madison Square Garden. And, there's a big arrow that says arena, fight tonight. And you see 2 or 3 guys standing around a big wastebasket, and they've got a stretcher, and they're dumping this body into the wastebasket. You can see it's wearing boxing shorts into this garbage can. So this is Gahan Wilson, and if you're not, of course I'm sure you've seen his work, but if you don't see, here's another one. It shows this elegant home, and you see this beautiful overstuffed chair. You've seen overstuffed chair. It's got a big wing back on it and all that. And next to it, you see a pair of glasses just laying on the floor there. And you see a book that's obviously somebody's been reading, and it's been dropped on the floor. And you look carefully at the chair, and you see what's happened. You see in this overstuffed chair, you see 2 tiny hands reaching out, clutching for the ceiling. Obviously, the chair has sucked them right in. And you see nothing else. He's going down for the West. Now that takes a certain kind of imagination. And then there's another one. It's 2-panel. One of his few 2-panel cartoons. Shows a guy working on a road, see, and he's on this new asphalt road, and one guy's driving a big steamroller, and the other guy's directing him. He's turning around behind him. Says, "Okay, come on, this way, this way." And the next panel, you see this big, wide, flat guy, and the steamroller has moved on. That's all there is to it. So, that's Gahan Wilson. Now you've asked me what my favorite form of literature is. There it is. I think he says more about, there's an evil-looking guy standing outside of a guy's office, and he's wearing sandals and holding up a sign, and it says, "Are you ready to meet R.K. Campbell?" And inside the office is R.K. Campbell saying, "God." Oh, don't forget, tomorrow night, Clifton High.